Yo, what it do, guys? It is your boy, Leo Buki here, back with you with another new chapter of Kamen Rider Deku 01. And this is the true start to that of my first Kamen Rider story on the channel. Yeah, I've said it. I plan on doing other Kamen Rider, fan fictions on the channel. And maybe doing some what ifs on my main channel as well. But other than that, this is a good start to get my feet wet after all. Any rate, let's go to that of a quick recap. In the last chapter, we went over that of the creation of a company known as Coding Industries. Once a tech computer company, turned instead of a support gear company for that of daily lives, hero development, and so much more. As the current head of the company is that of Hashi Midoriya, a man who wants to make his son's dreams become a reality. And that reality is to be a hero. With the help of his closest friends, that are part of his company, and his closest friends, a guy by the name of Kenta, another one by the name of Kuroki, and the other Gembu. As Hashi wants to help his son become a hero through that of technology and quirk science as well. As he would basically bear the same name as an old TV show in pre-quirk Japan, otherwise known as a Kamen Rider. So, with all that said, let's get into this, shall we, guys? Chapter 1, Kamen Rider 01. All men are not created equal. That is something I learned when I was only 5 years old. Currently at that of a playground with that of multiple little kids playing around. However, at the very far end, you could see that of a young boy with that of messy green hair, almost looking like he's about to cry, as he wears that of a blue shirt with that of dark blue shorts, and also that of red shoes, as he's right in front of that of a boy on that of his knees, in that of pain and crying as well, saying, "Come on, Kachan, you have to stop. Don't you see that you're hurting him?" Within, in front of that of the boy, being that of three young kids. The two kids in the back are relevant. However, it's the one in front that truly matters, as he has that of ashen blonde hair that's quite spiky, almost looking like that of an explosion, actually, as he has crimson red eyes, and also wearing that of a t-shirt with a skull, with that of a custom-made skull on it, as he has that of brown shorts on. Within, as he couldn't help but close his eyes, saying, "Seriously, Deku, you really think that you can actually play hero of all things right now? You got a lot of nerve at that." As he's saying, "And if you're going to keep on hurting him, then I'll stop you." As getting in that of an amateur fighting stance, while still looking somewhat worried. However, the two boys in the back, a big boy with that of bat-like wings, a boy with that of brunette hair and wearing a baseball cap with that as his fingers begin to extend, and then Bakugo, as he slams the palm of his hand and an explosion unleashes, saying, "Then I guess we gotta teach you a lesson then, you quirkless loser." Within, Izuku, somewhat worried but still standing his ground, as soon after that, all you could hear is basically whining, beating, and basically explosions going off. With that, all that's left is basically a young boy laying on the ground, with that of the other boy still basically hanging over him, as he couldn't help but say, "Thank you, but you shouldn't have never got involved. What the heck were you going to do anyway?" As he soon walks off, while still whimpering and sniffling as well. As for Izuku, all he could feel is basically pain on the ground. He couldn't help but say, "This is the world we live in. Those with superpowers are the ones who are normal, while those who aren't are basically considered the unnormal." I realized that on that day. Well, not exactly on that day, but at least on the day when I got my diagnosis, I was quirkless. At that of a hospital room, seeing that of a pudgy old man with that of a bushy mustache and that of mechanical yellow glasses. He couldn't help but basically say, "Sorry, kid, it's not going to happen." If Izuku, looking completely and utterly shocked and surprised, as a woman that looked almost exactly like that of Izuku, as she has that of a quite beautiful and slender appearance, with that of green hair tied in that of a ponytail, with the same emerald eyes as well, as she's wearing that of a pink sweater and a long blue skirt, as this being Izuku's mother, Inko Midoriya, as she's saying, "What do you mean, doctor? This can't there's no chance of him," saying, "Just as I said, there's no chance of your son developing a quirk, especially now." Within hearing that, Izuku couldn't help but feel even more crumbled as everything basically goes blank around him. As for the two adults in that of the medical room, on the other hand, the doctor, otherwise known as Dr. Tsubasa, basically quirks develop based on that of the body. Not to mention, throughout the years of quirk studies, we found that of one prevalent thing in that of quirk studies, from that of having that of double jointed pinky toes. If a person has a singular joint in that of their pinky toe, then they have that of a quirk and could manifest it. It could even be that of a late bloomer as well. However, for those with that of double jointed pinky toes, unfortunately, they will never ever develop a quirk at all, no matter what. Studies do not lie, Miss Midoriya, showing him pictures of that of Izuku's x-rays of his foot, with making Inko feeling even more down and shocked, especially when she looks at that of her son, who has been quiet this entire time and hasn't said anything. She couldn't help but clench her hands. Several hours later, as Izuku and Inko came back home, that was when Izuku asked a question while looking at that of his favorite All Might video of his debut back in Japan. He asked the question, even without a quirk, can he be a hero? As for Inko, she couldn't help but break down as well and cry for that of her son and apologize. All she could do was say sorry over and over again, as Izuku even broke down more. On that day, those are not the words he wanted to hear from his mother. He wanted to hear that it is possible, that he can do it, as he basically cried himself to sleep. As for Inko, she's still basically up. Before then, hearing that of the door to that of their, 3-bedroom apartment building, as being Hashi, as CEO of, Coding Industries, he doesn't like to lavish or basically flaunt his wealth and all that. He's a simple and humble guy, especially growing up as a kid after all. Even being from a prestigious and most wealthy school that he gained the top of his marks in business and technological and design, he likes to humble himself and not be somebody arrogant and entitled. That's mainly what heroes are like after all. So he basically bought an apartment complex for his family, just so they can just know what it's like to live as normal people and not to basically flaunt their wealth. Inko accepted this. Izuku, still too young to understand it, at least until he's at least a little older. However, Hashi, when coming home, seeing that of his wife crying on the couch saying, "Inko, hey, what's going on?" But then, seeing her husband saying, "Oh, Hashi, sorry, we came back from the quirk doctor," and saying, oh, if Izuku's quirk is weak, no need to feel bad about it. Or even if it's your quirk or even not, or a weaker version of mine, doesn't saying, no, it's not that. It's just that he's quirkless, Hashi. Our baby boy doesn't have a quirk at all. As the tears basically come down even more, within hearing that, Hashi saying, "Izuku is quirkless, you say." But then she nodding, saying, "Oh my God, I was worried about this. Seriously worried that this would happen. But then Inko saying, you knew there's a chance? Even a small possibility and small chance. Even though most of the 20% of the Quirkless are basically the elderly, the 5% are still children. And that 5% is still possible to happen after all, no matter what. Just Izuku was so unlucky. But then, hearing that, Inko saying, so you're calling our son unlucky because of that, saying, what? No, Inko, that's not what I meant. I'm just worried for Izuku. You know how society is nowadays. Anything different and not normal, especially in our society, is always going to be seen as outcast and not needed. I'm guessing you're going to have to tell that of the school about about him being quirkless, aren't you? Then Inko had a nod as Izuku saying, and kids nowadays, they're so dead set on wanting to be heroes and wanting to do what they can to be like that of the greatest pro heroes of all time. Even our own kid loving All Might. Most of them don't even make it to being pro heroes at all. Many of them even wash out as soon as they get their own agency or they become sidekicks. And not a lot of people know this, but some even get themselves killed more often. But then, hearing this, Inko saying, then I'm guessing we have to make sure that Izuku can never be a hero then. But then, hearing that, saying, whoa, Inko, you do know that's going to be impossible for Izuku, right? This is his dream, his goal. You telling him to not trying to be a hero is just basically telling him to stop breathing. I saw his eyes every time when he saw All Might's video. Those are not the looks of just a kid being whimsical or looking up to that of a hero or see him as cool. That's the face of a kid who basically knows what he wants in his life. Izuku would do anything to be a hero. Are you really saying you're going to destroy that dream all because you're afraid that he can get hurt? Inko, he's quirkless. He's going to get hurt by society no matter what we do. Then Inko, feeling frustrated, screams out, then what do you expect us to do? What do you expect me to do? I just want my baby to feel safe. As Sasashi thinks this, with then saying, let me go speak to Izuku. The very next day, before Izuku and Sasashi basically went to school and also work, Sasashi asked Izuku if he wants to still be a hero without a quirk. But then, Izuku saying, is it even possible? But then, Sasashi couldn't help but smile, saying, yeah, it is. You just gotta work hard and train hard for it, no matter what. But then after hearing that, Izuku couldn't help but smile, saying, then yeah, I want to be a hero. I want to train hard. I want to work hard. I want to do whatever I can to basically achieve it. I want to be a hero like All Might and save people with a smile. Protecting others is the coolest thing in the world. Right, Dad? But seeing that smile on his son, Hisashi couldn't help but smile back, saying, yeah, they are. With that, Hisashi already made his decision, no matter what. Since then, Izuku has basically gone through his life with many hardships and suffering. From his former friend, Katsuki Bakugo, now turned his tormentor bully for the past 11 years. And not just him, even his own school and teachers don't even give a damn about him as well. Especially when he starts going to junior high and then all the way to high school. Especially in high school. His life hasn't changed that much, except a few things in his life that became somewhat of a crutch and a motivator that kept him going for his dream of being a hero. Besides his dad always supporting him, helping him out, he also had that of two childhood best friends, outside of that of Bakugo and his lackeys, when they started to abandon him and bully him. Two people ended up being his closest friends, mainly because they were relatives of his father's closest friends. The first one being a girl with that of raven black hair and that of black eyes. She was quite nervous and timid when they first met, but over the years, she's basically become somewhat of a source of strength and realization for him as well. As for the other, let's just say she's a goddamn handful, even now for Izuku. A girl with that of pink dreads and yellow eyes that look like that of crosshairs of a scope, and always have that of an eternal smile on her face, either be showing her teeth or just grinning. These two girls would be Mei Hatsune and Momo Yaoyorozu. Mei Hatsune being that of the niece of Kenta Hatsune. The Hatsunes have always been support inventors, always making support gear ever since the Age of Heroes was created. However, the current head of the Hatsune Incorporated, being that of Mei's father, wants nothing to do with that of big companies after all. However, her uncle, Kenta, who was Hasashi's closest friends, took the opportunity and chance to work with that of his closest best friend. In a way, Kenta is seen as a traitor to their family, outside of Mei, who, outside of making support gears, or her babies, as she likes to call them, still sees him as that of her precious uncle. After all, if it wasn't for him, she would have never met Izuku. And the other, Momo Yaoyorozu, daughter to Genbu Yaoyorozu, a prom and proper girl that's always wanting to help out others. She dreams of being a hero just because she just wants to help others. Not to help or basically excel that of her family fortune or influence as that of a pro hero. No. She's just when it comes to that of her quirk creation, when it comes to having a quirk like this, why basically just use it for herself or for her family company when she can use it to help others, to be a hero? That's what she dreams of. It's what both Izuku and her dream of. However, every time when Izuku wants to be a hero, it makes her feel worried. Worried that he's just going to get himself hurt. That he's just going to suffer without a quirk at all. Not just for herself to help others, but to also live her best friend's dream for the both of them. However, Izuku, on the other hand, won't give up on that dream. And little did he know, others haven't given up on that dream for him as well. Currently now, at Aldera High School, it's finally the last day at the school, graduation day. Seeing that of half of all the parents of all the third years of Aldera High School. With that, the principal came up and say, I would like to say I am thankful and great that I have had such an amazing and great students of this generation. Especially one student who has basically go above and beyond what anybody is capable of at this school for the past many years. He's exceptional both academically and has quite the amazing potential to be the greatest hero. I would like to bring up that of Katsuki Bakugo. As everybody couldn't help but clap. Even that of Izuku, even though he's no longer he doesn't see Bakugo as that of a friend anymore, he still wants to at least congratulate him for making it this far after all. But then, Bakugo basically saying, I only want to say this. It's only fucking obvious that I would be here, be at top of this shitty ass school. But then, hearing that, somebody could up and say, stop cursing, you damn brat, and basically give a proper speech. As the person cursing being that of Inko's good childhood friend and also fellow mother, Mitsuki Bakugo. As Inko could help but sigh, saying, this never changes no matter what. As Mitsuki Bakugo, basically a tall and quite curvaceous woman with that of who basically is a carbon copy of Bakugo. The only difference is Mitsuki's at least a lot more controlling of her anger after all. Unlike Bakugo, who basically can't. Within a man that's basically sitting right next to her, as he has that of short brunette hair and basically a small brown mustache with glasses on, saying, dear, you're going to make a scene. But then, this being Bakugo's father, Masaru Bakugo, basically a timid and completely total opposite of both his wife and son, with Bakugo screaming, shut the hell up, Hag, and let me speak how I want to speak. It's not like it matters anymore. As Bakugo continues to shout, saying, back what I was saying, everyone knows that I, the only one from this dead-end, worthless, and piece of shit school, and especially among you loser and extras, is always destined to be the number one, destined to be the greatest hero of all time. And that's exactly what I'm going to be. I'll be the richest, most popular, and greatest hero of all that even surpasses All Might, no matter what anyone says. As he says this, he soon basically raises his fist up into the air and unleashes an explosion. And no one's gonna stop me! As he couldn't help but laugh. With that, a lot of people couldn't help but have that of a sweat drop. A few of the students are a little bit annoyed but can't do anything about it. As for Izuku, he couldn't help but feel a little bit nervous and also somewhat saddened that this is how far Bakugo is basically gone when becoming that they both wanted to be heroes. However, Bakugo's definition of a hero is basically just to win. Always win, no matter what. Nothing else matters. If you can't win, then you're not a hero. Every time when Izuku hears this ideology, he couldn't help but clench his fist and get annoyed. Nothing wrong with always wanting to win, but what's the point in winning if you basically let innocent people die in the process? That's not what makes a hero. It just makes you a competitive asshole. Within, the principal coming back to the stage saying, thank you for your fine declaration of words, Bakugo. Knowing you, you'll definitely make it into UA. Within, Bakugo couldn't help but scoff, saying, of course I am. As then, basically going off the stage, within the principal saying, powerful quirk or not, before looking back at him saying, he is such a volatile little brat. It's a good thing the army's had good use for brats like him after all. Before clearing his throat and going back to that of the mic saying, now then, for all of you students, I expect great things from you. After all, you are the future of our current society. No matter what you go in the field, you'll be great as long as it's realistic to how you are seen. Within, after hearing that, it almost felt like that jab was directed towards Izuku and Izuku alone. With him looking down, and couldn't help but grit his teeth and his fist at the same time. Mainly because it was impossible for Izuku. Several months back, he took that of the entrance exam for UA University. Unlike that in normal canon, Izuku Midoriya would have basically never met All Might, unfortunately. That was mainly because of certain individuals who actually kept an eye on Izuku. When the sludge villain actually was about to take that of Izuku's body, instead, however, a certain someone ended up basically burning the sludge villain, burning them to literal ashes. So fast and so powerful to the point that not even the sludge villain's screams could be heard by Izuku as he heads straight home. However, it did leave somewhat of a trail for that of All Might to wonder who the hell killed the sludge villain. However, given that he was just a petty criminal, why bother or why care about such a thing? But even so, it did leave All Might in that of surprise. After that, he soon basically went to that of UA and soon found his successor, or rather, the man that was supposed to be his successor. But that's for another time. Izuku was literally trained day in and day out, constantly working hard to achieve his goal of wanting to be a hero. He learned that of martial arts, several styles of weapon specialization due to that of the money his family has after all, known that of technology, coding, and programming, alongside that of medicine and also first aid as well, and while also studying for that of the entrance exam too. Well, even so, it still kept on. He still had to deal with that of Bakugo and his lackeys and everyone else at the high school to treat him like shit. But he basically pushed through it and kept on going no matter what. And on that very day, everything was going well. Until 2 months ago, standing in front of UA University, as the entrance exam is basically open-ended. Hell, anybody can take the entrance exam at any time in any place. while having to schedule it. But this is the first time that it's actually fully open to that of the public and to anyone wanting to apply for UA through general studies, support, business, and the hero course. I mean, sure, people say that Izuku could have gone to that of the recommendation exam, especially given his uncle Kurobe, as he is the current number 7 hero of Japan. However, Izuku wanted to earn it with his own strength and not gain it from that of other people. With that, he soon stands in front of the school within, somebody basically pushing him out of the way, saying, "The hell you think you're doing here, Deku? I thought I told your ass not to show up." Within, Izuku saying, hey, Kachan, look, I understand what you're saying, but I just wanted to. Within, soon, a crowd of people began to show up saying, "Seriously? Somebody basically threatened somebody on the first day? God, looks like another villain in the making pretending to be a hero." Not to mention the other guy. Seriously, how is somebody as bland face as him going to make it in the entrance exam? Within, hearing all the chatter and commotion, within soon growling and out of frustration and annoyance before having that of a full-on death glare at Izuku saying, You won't even last long. Matter of fact, you'll be dead on the very first moment that the exam even begins. Not wasting my damn time on you." As he walks off, that's when Izuku couldn't help but sigh in out of annoyance, before then just standing back up, grabbing his things, and heading into that of the building. However, little did Izuku know, he was being watched by somebody from a scope. However, the scope was also on that of Bakugo as well, and it looks like somebody had a bit of an itchy trigger finger to shoot it straight at Bakugo, but decided to, just decided to just keep an eye on Izuku like they were supposed to. With that, back in that of UA, currently, there are basically ways to that of certain exams, while 3 ways, one heading to that of the general study exam, which is just a written exam. The second one being that of the, support course exam, which is written alongside that of a practical exam, showing off support gear. The business course, which is also just a written exam too. And last but not least, the hero course exam, which is basically a written exam and also the practical exam, which Izuku passes the written exam with flying colors, not even breaking a sweat in it. However, it was the practical exam that was the biggest problem. Basically, he had to face against that of robots, which, given all the training he's done and everything he's learned and mastered, shouldn't be too hard. However, there was only one problem though. Support gear was unauthorized for the entrance exam. When Izuku heard that, he basically realized he was screwed from the very start. He looked over the exam sheet over and over again, and the recommendations for it always said that support gear was allowed. However, there was basically a small tiny print in the back. Support gear was allowed unless it involves your quirk. Within hearing that, Izuku realized that UA's principal Nezu allowed quirkless people into school, even for the hero course, but he basically made it a way where they would fail and only be able to do it with their own skills alone. With that, it pissed off Izuku with a passion. Since then, the exam was basically nothing but a massacre. For example, he was able to take out at least that of several 1-point robots. However, when it came to that of the 2-pointer and 3-pointers, they were a bit of a problem. Sure, there was an off switch within them, like literally a shutdown switch, but it didn't help that so many people were basically hitting the robots that he was actually taking out and exploding around him, basically causing so much fucking collateral damage. The entire exam looked like that of a goddamn war zone from the eyes of Izuku. And it got even worse when the 0-pointer showed up. The 0-pointer, basically a robot it's basically worth no points and basically nothing more than an obstacle. Izuku would be willing to ignore it, except one thing. A person was pinned down by that of debris and rubble, and right in front of the 0-pointer's path, going straight for everybody else. Izuku, having that of the heroic heart he knows he's always had, couldn't just leave somebody in trouble and basically rushed after to help them. However, no matter how much he tried, no matter how much strength he tries, he couldn't get her out entirely before the zero pointer basically was on upon them. Unfortunately, that's when the exam fully ended, as it didn't crush them or basically, stop for their sakes. It only just stopped because the entrance exam ended before Izuku could do anything. After that, Izuku felt like he failed. He didn't get enough points or enough to even qualify at all. It also didn't help that a lot of people jeers at him as well, calling him useless, worthless, pathetic, sad, knowing that he didn't do anything, or he was just wasting his time, or should have just used his quirk from the beginning, or realized that he was quirkless as well. With that, it just made it even worse. Even the day where he basically would get that of his letter, however, it wasn't a letter of acceptance that he made into UA. Nope. It was just a letter telling that he failed. But he has a chance to get into the general studies course if he feels like it, given his high marks in that of the written test, or any other course if he feels like it, except that of support. But hearing that, it just made another dagger to his heart. That all the hard work that he put himself through, everything that the training, the money that his father had for him, basically just went down the drain. All because they wouldn't allow him to use the support gear that his family made for him for the entrance exam. But instead, nothing. All of it was wasted. Even the girl that basically tried to defend Izuku as well and tried to offer that of her points to him meant nothing either. All it did was just get the attention of the UA faculty and just allow him in general studies and business. Nothing more, nothing less. He could still try again, of course. However, when it comes to the hero course, you only get one chance. All the other courses are free game, just not the hero course. Not to mention, he wanted to basically go in the same year as Bakugo, the same year as Kachan. That's all that mattered. And now, it's gone. And no other hero school will basically allow him. UA was the only hero school that allowed quirkless applicants. No one else. And now that Izuku's dream is truly and finally dead. Back to the present, with Izuku getting out of his memories, the Aldera High School graduation ceremony has come to an end, with Izuku basically being congratulated by his mom and happy that he's finally leaving that of the school, with Izuku thanking her as well, before hearing somebody saying, "Izuku, congrats!" with then being hugged by that of Misaki Bakugo, causing Izuku to blush, saying, Aunt Misaki, what are you... It's saying, "Hey, congratulating you, brat. At least enjoy it." As she having a genuine happy smile being around Izuku. Within, Masaru saying, "You're making him quite uncomfortable, dear." But then she's saying, "Oh, come on, Masaru, you're being too much of a wet blanket." But then Izuku saying, "Where's Kachan?" Saying, the damn brat basically just went off on his own, saying he doesn't need to waste time being here anymore. That damn brat, always impatient as hell. But then Masaru saying, "That's just who he is, dear. But still, I wish he would at least try and congratulate you as well, Izuku." Then Izuku saying, "I think it's better this way." Looking back down, thinking, I don't think I'll be able to handle Kachan right after that speech. As Izuku says this quietly to himself, Mitsuki couldn't help but say, "Also, where the hell is Hisashi? I thought for sure that damn bastard be here. Is he really starting to take his job way too more seriously than his own damn family?" Then Inko, hearing that, she couldn't help but feel a little nervous, saying, He hasn't been home in at least out of 2 days, actually." But then, hearing that, even Izuku saying, What do you mean, Mom?" As Inko looking kind of nervous, as she even feeling somewhat scared for her as well, saying, It was about 2 days ago when you were still at school, actually. I had a phone call saying that Hasashi wouldn't be home for at least a little while. It was from Genbu. Within hearing that, Izuku saying, Uncle Genbu? But why? Within, she's saying, I don't know, but within, without warning, that's when a limo soon pulls up. Coming out of the door from the right side being a woman with that of multicolored hair, but mainly purple hair, as she has that of a quite athletic but somewhat curvaceous figure actually, with that of short purple hair, and quite the look, in the look that basically would say, I'll kill you if you look at me funny. Within, opening the door, before then, seeing that of a familiar black-haired ravenette, that being Genbu Yaoyorozu. As a lot of people are wondering who this is, besides a few adults saying, wait, is that Genbu Yaoyorozu of the Yaoyorozu conglomerate? Saying, yeah, I remember. Their company is quite well known, mainly in that of real estate and also that of invested quite a bit in the stock market here as well. I also hear that they're basically partnered with that of the coding company. Wait, the most well-renowned support company known to man? What are they? Why would he be here? But then, entering out of the car as well, being that of a familiar young woman with that of a somewhat quite mature and, well, pronounced figure as well, as she has that of a spiky ponytail, as this is Momo Yaoyorozu, Izuku's childhood friend and heir to that of the Yaoyorozu conglomerate. Within, Genbu walks in the crowd alongside that of the purple-haired woman, saying, so it's time, isn't it? Saying, yes, we've held out on telling them the truth this long, now that it's finally finished. Within, hearing this, Momo saying, can't believe this is really happening. Within, heading to that of the crowd, making room through that of the crowd with a few teachers seeing them, saying, Genbu Mr. Yaoyorozu, what do we owe the pleasure of a well-renowned CEO such as your... I have no interest in that of your school or the principal. Stay the hell out of my way. I'm here to see some friends of mine. As he says this, pretty deadpan to the point that he didn't even sound like he cared, as he was just making a statement. Leaving that to the teacher who tried asking this, somewhat shocked and a little bit cold, with Momo saying, apologies for my father. He can be quite, well, oblivious to his words. Catching up with that of her father and the other woman. Within, soon, Bakugo, who was already way away from that of from Aldera, as he couldn't help but wonder, what the hell? Why the hell do I feel like I'm missing something? It's probably not damn important. Need to continue training until I get into UA. I only got that of a month left, and I gotta pack up my things after all. At least there's one plus side. I don't have to need to be around that goddamn Deku anymore. As Bakugo continues walking off, unaware that something that he would never realize, or something that was kept hidden from him all these years, is going to be said today. Within, right in front of that of the Midoriyas and Bakugos, as Genbu looks at that of the two families before smiling, saying, Izuku, it's so good to see you after a while now. Congratulations on graduating, my boy. Then, hearing that, a lot of people around them couldn't help but be completely shocked. Even that of the former students of Aldera saying, wait, did he congratulate that of Midoriya? A big shot like him congratulating a quirkless loser like him? That makes no damn sense. Why would... But then Izuku scratched the back of his head, closing his eyes, saying, thanks, Uncle Genbu. You didn't need to come all the way here to congratulate. But then, Momo saying, actually, Izuku, it is something important. Also, again, congratulations as well. Sorry that you couldn't be there for my, well, graduation as well. But then seeing that of Momo saying, oh, Momo-chan, it's so good to see you, too. And then, looking at that of the purple-haired woman, he couldn't help but blink multiple times, saying, have we met before? As she was about to say something, that's when Inko saying, oh, Sasumi-san, I didn't think that you would come to see us. I'm so glad that you're okay. I didn't expect you. But then, Izuku saying, you know her mom? Saying, let's just say she's a close family friend, dear. But then the woman couldn't help but feel a little bit embarrassed, saying, I'm kind of Susumi. This is the first time that the two of us are officially meeting, young Master Midoriya. I'm a servant to your family. I've been since for the past, 10 years actually. But then hearing that, Izuku saying, wait, you've been a servant of our family for 10 years? But it's a different kind of servant after all. But I can explain that later. Sir, within, looking at that of Genbu, saying, right. Looking back at the Midoriya, saying, Inko, Izuku, could you please come with us? There's something important that I and the others need to show you. Especially what's going to be happening start in a couple of days. With hearing that from Genbu, Izuku and Inko feeling a little bit worried. But then Misaki can up and say, oh, hold up, Genbu. What the hell really is going on? Especially, where the hell is Hisashi of all, since he should be here within? Genbu saying, it involves Hisashi, Misaki. Even though you're close family friends with that of Inko, I can't tell you, at least not yet until she knows. If you feel like telling her as well, Inko, it's bet you can, but only after we head to the company. Within hearing that, Inko couldn't help but feel a little bit nervous before then looking at her close friend since high school. And she's saying, Misaki, please, I promise I'll tell you what's happening. And Hisashi might be able to clear things up and wonder why he hasn't come here. Within hearing that, that's when her husband Masaru comes behind her, places his hand on that of her shoulder, saying, we'll be waiting for you when you come. Inko, just try, whatever it is, we'll be here. Just say when you need it. After that, she couldn't help but be happy about the friend she has after all these years. The 5 individuals head back to that of the limo before driving off, as many parents, students, and even a few faculty completely and utterly dumbfounded, wondering what's going on. However, as for the principal, who saw all of this from the distance, saying, wait, the Midoriyas are related to the Yaoyorozus? And the Yaoyorozus are connected to that of the coding industries. If I recall, the supreme leader talked about the hit on that of the CEO went through, but why would a Quirkless Bracken, a nobody woman, have some connection to them? I should probably speak to that of the high leader. I wonder what's going on. After that, the principal heads to that of his office. Before then, in that of the car, Izuku saying, so, Uncle Genbu, I can't fully give you the full details, but I will tell you this. It does involve your father, my best friend, Hisashi. Then hearing that, Inko saying, is Hisashi okay? Then, Genbu couldn't help but look down. Even that of Momo couldn't help but stay quiet alongside that of Susumi. Then, Inko saying, Genbu, please, tell me what's wrong with Hisashi. Then, as Genbu saying, like I said, I can't give you too much. Just when we get to the company, that's when we can give you the information. After at least a quiet and somewhat intense 20-minute ride, they finally arrive at a massive and somewhat technological advanced building where holographic displays alongside that of the company itself logo on the basically shown in that of holographic hovering in front of it, called Coding Industries. With Izuku wondering, we're here at Coding? So Dad's here too? But then Genbu saying, somewhat. After that, they head into the building with multiple security guards basically everywhere, even that of several pro heroes, mainly sidekicks of a certain pro hero that's part of the company as well. Within soon seeing that of a certain female pro hero that has been making quite a name for herself since her debut last year on this very day, as she has that of quite the seductive, curvy, and her hero costume leaves little to the imagination about her curves. And she has that of a purple domino mask with that of horns on it, and that of wavy bleach blonde hair. That also goes well with that of her violet eyes as well. As this being the somewhat quite popular Mountain Lady, within saying, "Hold on, who are these people here?" Within a few of the sidekicks, one being that of a guy with that of technological visor over his head, and basically wearing that of a suit and tie with that of multiple keypad gauntlets on his wrist, saying, "Oh, that's CEO Genbu Kitaruji, co-owner of that of Coding Industries. He's alongside with that of the boss, too." Within, hearing that, saying, "Wait, seriously? And who are the people with him?" Within, soon, a young woman with that of a purple visor, with that of with having that of, well, yo-yos as that of buns. Her silver hair looks like they're basically in twin tails from coming out of the yo-yos, wearing an all-purple outfit, as two giant yo-yos are basically on that of her waist, as she has that of a quite tight uniform too, saying, "Oh, that's Miss Inko, and also her son. That's basically the wife and son of the current CEO of the company after all. I'm surprised you don't know this, Mount Lady. Didn't the boss tell you all this since he financed your agency after all?" Within hearing that, she could help but bless, saying, "Hey, I took the time to try and remember things. It's not going to be that hard. Trust me." As Mount Lady feeling somewhat embarrassed, being called out by that, as the two sidekicks can up and say, "Right. Just because you're not technically the boss's sidekick doesn't mean that you're basically still under us after all. Try and keep up, newbie." Within, as the two sidekicks basically walked off, that's when Mount Lady can feel a little bit annoyed and frustrated, saying, even after an entire year, they still treat me like I'm new to this stuff. I'm only here as a way to support that of Nebula after all. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be even here to begin with. But still, I need to figure out what the hell is going on." As the size-changing pro-heroine can help but go head up as well, that's when Izuku, Inko, Genbu, and Momo, alongside that of Sasumi, take a special-made elevator. As this elevator, instead of basically just going up, it has that of special features that shift and change to make sure that no cameras or detection can be heard from them. However, little did they know, a certain someone also ended up figuring out going through this, mainly because a certain someone ended up giving her a key card to this elevator as well. Arriving in that of the special room that Hasashi, Kenta, Kurobe, and Genbu always have their private meetings away from that of the board of directors of the coding company. Within seeing that of specific individuals, being that of Kenta and his niece, Mei Hatsune, as well as and a lot more mature than she was many years ago when Izuki was a kid. Alongside that of Kurobe as well, still wearing his hero costume, but having his visor-like helmet off too. However, a certain someone is right beside him, as he's basically leaning back on the wall, as he has that of messy, spiked black hair, and also that of piercing blue eyes. And not only that, he has that of a black mask over that of his face, where you can't even see it. However, what stands out the most is that you can see that of scars and stitches over his wrist that go all the way up from that of his arm to his arms that are being covered by that of a navy blue coat. Seeing that of the new individuals, he couldn't help but glance up, saying, "So, they're all here now, huh?" Kurobe couldn't help but say, "Yeah." "Well then, let's get this over with." Then Izuku saying, "Uncle Kenta, Uncle Kurobe, May?" Within, she's saying, "Hey there, Greenie. How you doing, Izuku? Oh, you graduated today too, didn't you? Shouldn't I say congratulations? But I should also say my condolences too." Within, hearing that, Izuku saying, what do you mean? Within, she's saying, oops, I wasn't supposed to say that just yet, wasn't I? Within, Kenta can help but say, no point of you stop not saying anything now. Within, Inko saying, hey there, you two. It's so good to see you, but can I ask, what are you all doing here? And where's Hasashi? Within, hearing that, both of his closest friends can help but look down. Within, Kurobe can help but sigh, saying, Hasashi is dead, Inko. Izuku. Hearing that, both couldn't help but basically look completely and utterly mortified. However, that's the same time, the elevator doors open up, saying, finally, logging into the meeting room, saying, hey, Nova, I needed to, within, seeing out of the solemn atmosphere in the room and realizing that this may be a bad time, saying, is this a bad time? Within, looking back, saying, Takayama, seriously, you're supposed to be down there keeping an eye on my sidekicks. Why the hell are you up here? Within, feeling the, annoyance out of his tone, saying, sorry, I just wanted to know what's going on and who are these people when they're supposed to be the family of the CEO, so within, Genbu saying, you really should have kept her more in the loop. You do more for her, do more for Dabi than you do for her. As then Kurobe can up and say, oh, piss off. I've just started trusting her, and she still hasn't proven herself either way. Within, hearing that, saying, hey! Within, soon, Izuku saying, wait, what do you mean Dad's dead? What's going on? You can't be serious! Within, Inko hasn't said anything as she's still in shock, hearing that her husband is dead. Within, Genbu, heading over to that of his spot in that of the meeting room, pulling out that of a flash drive before plugging it into his desk. As soon, a holographic display showing 3 days ago, Hisashi had a hit on him. An assassin basically tried to kill him after all. We're not sure on who sent the assassin, but we have those of certain competitors that want to go against us, that would basically want to take him out. Unfortunately, 2 days ago, they ended up doing so. On his way back home, an assassin ended up basically taking out his tires and ended up killing, and he died from a car crash. Within hearing that, Izuku saying, Dad was on his way home. He said he was on his way home and he died from... Within, Inko saying, Hasashi. Oh, my Hasashi. Why? As Inko was about to fully break down, without warning, that's when Susumi, alongside that of Momo, went straight to comforting that of the now maid grieving widow. As Inko couldn't help but continue crying at the loss of her husband, with Izuku saying, why are we just hearing about this now? Why hasn't anybody known about this? Kurobe heading to that of his, desk as well, putting in that of his code, before then saying, we've been keeping a secret for the time being. We made sure that all information and knowledge coming about that incident was basically shut down before we make our announcement. Hell, not even the board of directors know about Hisashi's passing, and we want to make sure to keep it that way. With Kenta, could help but say, definitely, knowing those pit of vipers, they'll basically do anything to get over that of Hisashi's shares, even though good old Genbu has been making sure to keep an eye on that. Within, Genbu can help but sigh, saying, even so, that's not what's important. The importance is what was written in Hisashi's will, and we plan on showing this to the directors. However, we wanted to show this to you two first, before we do so. But then hearing that, both Inko and Izuku are shocked, before then saying, what do you mean? But then, going over to that of his desk, that's when Kenta basically types in his code and access, before then saying, your dad has been asking us to work on a special project. A project that's basically went above and beyond than what we originally planned on. It was originally planned on to allow you to become a hero, Izuku. Hearing that, Izuku could help but say, What do you mean? With even Momo, alongside that of Mei, caught off guard. Hell, even Mount Lady wondering, wait, what the hell are you guys talking about? With Kurobe could help but say, I was going to tell you this when I feel like that you were trustworthy to know, but screw it now. If you tell anyone this, my finances are cutting your agency. Within hearing that, saying, hold up! With then, soon, Kenta could help but say, we've been working on this project. Originally, it was supposed to just be one, but over time, we got a little bit greedy and made a few more similar to it. Within, Genbu couldn't help but whisper, and somewhat having a, flustered migraine, saying, and we went over budget so much to the point that I feel like we were going to go bankrupt. Luckily, I was able to make sure that none of it went back to us. Within, Kenta could actually feel the glare from that of Genbu. Within saying, but this was the main project that we worked on. All of its main resources went into this one and this one alone. Izuku, say hello to your combat hero suit, or as what your father called it, your Kamen Rider suit. Kamen Rider 01. Within, showing the holographic image of Kamen Rider 01, fully detailed in everything, as no longer just in the blueprints, what Hasashi wanted it to look like, to now what it does look like now. With Izuku completely and utterly shocked seeing this, alongside Inko, with Momo couldn't help but be completely utterly dumbfounded. As for Mei, she looks like she has that of full-on smarkles in her eyes. With then Izuku saying, Kamen Rider 01. Then Izuku's confusion even settles even more, saying, wait, what even is a Kamen Rider? Is it some kind of hero? But then the guy in the back saying, I told you he wouldn't get it. To be honest, I didn't even get it either the first time too. But then saying, Dabi saying, yeah, I get it. I'll stay quiet for now. With then, Kurobe can help but sigh, saying, look, even we were a little confused the first time he brought it up too. But Kamen Rider is basically a pre-Quirk TV show before the age of Quirks even began. In a way, these are the predecessors to that of the Pro Heroes, since originally they were fictional and basically and used practical effects and all that. But this is the real deal. This is the first Kamen Rider. Within hearing that, Izuku saying, first Kamen Rider. Within hearing that, Izuku could help say, wait, you're saying that Dad made this for me? But why? Within, Genbu couldn't help but comment saying and looking back at Izuku, having that of a look of somewhat nostalgia and also sadness, saying, because he wanted to help you become a hero. He saw the dream and determination in your eyes and was willing to do whatever it took for you to be a hero. Within hearing that, Izuku saying, wait, you're serious? Within, Kent is saying, yeah, we heard that you took the entrance exam for the UA University, right? And yet you failed. Mainly because of the fine print that they put in the very back when it came to applicants, right? Within, Izuku saying, wait, you knew about that? Within, Momo saying, I kinda showed it to that of my parents, Izuku. I think they found that they started figuring things out, and within, Izuku saying, so it was rigged from the start. It was always going to be rigged for somebody like me who was quirkless. Within hearing that, both Mount Lady and Dabi saying, quirkless. Kurobe came up with comments saying, because he believed in you, Izuku. He saw that you would never give up on your dream of being a hero and wanted to help you. However, if you take being a Kamen Rider, there is a chance you'll have to be a vigilante. Within hearing that, Izuku saying, wait, a vigilante? With then hearing this, Inko saying, you want my baby boy to be a vigilante? To be an illegal hero? Within, even Mount Lady saying, okay, even that's gotta be insane. You can't condone this, Nova, after you're a pro hero, saying, yeah, I'm a pro hero. However, I'm also that kid's uncle. You've already seen how society sees the Quirkless. Take on how they're gonna try and see that of a Quirkless hero, of all things. Within, hearing that, Mount Lady kept say, as she's basically drawing a blank saying, okay, fine, you got me there, but making him a vigilante? What are the chances? You're basically asking us to basically turn the other way for a vigilante. But then, Izuku saying, why? Kurobe couldn't help but walk over to Izuku, saying, because the world needs a hero like you, Izuku. Pro hero or vigilante, not. It doesn't matter. You have the heart and soul of a hero, no matter what anyone says. And that's exactly what you deserve to be, a hero. And this is your only ticket of being one. Within hearing that, Izuku looks back at the suit. However, at the same time, that's when the building begins to shake a little bit, wondering, what's going on? Within, Keita looking back at that of the stealth cameras basically active, saying, looks like a certain little liberation army send their lackeys. Within, looking down, seeing that of several villains basically attacking that of the company building. Within, Mount Lady, alongside that of Sasumi, was about to head out. Within, that's when Genbu's saying, wait, you two, don't. Within, saying, what? Kaina can help but say, you want that of Master Midoriya go down, don't you? Within, hearing that, Inko saying, out of the question! I am not sending my baby down there! Within, soon, Kenta basically looking at that of Genbu as he nods. Then, typing in a code as the holographic display disappears. Before then, the table opens up. Before then, seeing that of a certain device. A device that looks like that of a belt buckle. Before it slides over to that of Genbu. Before bringing out that of something that looks like a computer chip. Before handing it to Izuku, saying, this is the 01 driver. This is what will allow you to become a Kamen Rider, Izuku. But then, he's grabbing the two, as Inko saying, Genbu, you can't be! I am serious. Izuku, this is your first task. There's something else that needs to be told about you, and what stores for the company after Hasashi's passing. But to do that, you need to prove yourself. Prove that everything that Hasashi has done for you, and that everything that this company sacrificed for you, is going to be worth it. Will you prove us wrong? Or prove everything Hasashi said was right? But then hearing that, Izuku looking back at that of the two things in his hands before gripping them tight. Down and out of the main lobby, the pro hero sidekicks that are under that of Kurobe are basically getting knocked back by that of three villains. One having that of looking like that of a giant rhino. The other having that of multiple hoses around that of his arms. But not similar to that of Backdraft, but just basically coming out of his knuckles. And the other, basically a common guy with that of multiple blades coming out of his arms too. As the pro heroes are trying their best to knock back the villains, as the Rhino villain knocks back several other sidekicks, and then that of the water hose villain basically sends out a burst of water from his knuckles, short-circuiting that of the support gear that uses technology to work. With then, as the Blade villain basically tries to stab them, with many of them jumping back, however, one of them doesn't. Before then, he gets stabbed in the shoulder blade and pinned to the ground, screaming in agony. Within saying, we were told that we have a little bit of a job to do by our leader. The Supreme Leader wants to make sure that every CEO connected to this company is dead. And you pro heroes are in the way. So it doesn't matter how within the Rhino guy can up say, we have to make sure there are no witnesses. Kill everybody here and find the Midoriyas. But then the hose guy saying, why not have a little bit of fun? After all, once that of the Supreme Leader and that of Comrade Skeptic takes over this company, it would be perfect for us after all. It's not like it matters. Then he pulls out the blades before about to stab the sidekick in the head. That's when somebody basically comes up, basically jumps in and kicks the guy in the head as well, sending him flying backwards, wincing in pain, before then landing on his back as this being, Izuku. Within soon saying, authorize, code AMT47, lockdown system, Izuku Midoriya. Within hearing that, the entire building basically goes into lockdown, with even that of the doors basically completely shutting down, as it basically locks everybody inside until the lockdown is removed from that of the person who commenced it, or anyone higher with his clearance. Within, the Rhino guy couldn't help but try and bust out, saying, what the hell? Why the hell can't? Within, Izuku basically saying, you can't break through that. That barricade is used that of the same technology and the same alloy that the UA barrier uses. Nobody can get through or get out unless I or anyone else above me say otherwise. Within hearing that, the guy with the hoses could up and say, hey, he's one of our targets. He's a Midoriya. Within, the guy with the blades getting back from basically not having his head basically hit, saying, you gotta be shitting me. I got kicked by that of a Quirkless wannabe? An inferior? This is going to be a pain in my ass. I will not let this let down. Within, the guy on the ground saying, young Master Midoriya, saying, it's fine, I'll handle it. Within, pulling out his driver. Before then, he puts it on that of his belt buckle. Soon, having that of the chip in his hands, which is called a pro key. Within, soon saying, I will be the hero that Dad wanted me to be. Before then putting it towards that of the sensor on the belt, saying, authorize. Before the chip on that of the card begins to click open, looking like that of the key itself. Before Izuku couldn't help but imagine his father, imagine everything he's done for him, everything he worked for to make this a possibility, everything he did for him and him alone. With his eyes open in seriousness, saying, Henshin! Before slamming the key inside of it. Before then, something materializing above, out of that of the Earth's atmosphere from a satellite. A beam of light comes down and heads straight into that of the coding tower. But soon it hits that of the driver. Before then, materializing out of the driver being a digital grasshopper. As the construct continues to jump around the entirety of the lobby, as many people ducking down from that of employees, the pro heroes, even that of the villains themselves, with the Rhino villain trying to smack it away. Pro rise! Jump and rise! Within, the grasshopper soon materializes right in front of Izuku, circling around, as then a layout for that of the Kamen Rider 01 suit materializes in front of Izuku. For the voice screams out, Rising Upper! Before it fully materializes across Izuku, as he wears the light green outfit and suit of Kamen Rider 01. His last remaining words were, a jump to the sky turns into a rider kick. As it shows off everything about that of the suit, from armor to sleek it is, to even the driver in the center as well, with the villains completely and utterly shocked, wondering what the hell is that, before soon Izuku saying, Kamen Rider 01, as he gets into a battle stance, as this is the first battle for Izuku. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Love to read though. Sorry that I'm ending it off on that of a cliffhanger. My apologies, guys. I really am. But however, this video is getting longer than it should be, and I don't want it to be any longer than it needs to. Also, since that of UA will be that of a university and a lot of other things too, yeah, everybody's aged up at least a little bit, mainly that of those from Class 1A, 1B, and the support course alongside May as well. Even the League of Villains, at least some of its members, are also aged up too. Not to mention certain changes because of certain characters being added to this. And if you've noticed, then yeah. As the role that they will play in this story, you'll just have to wait and see. As for the next part, I'll probably try and release it as soon as I can for that one too. But for the meantime, just be a little patient, guys. At any rate, if you guys like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification, keep to date my videos upload to the channel. Also, please check out my Discord, gaming channel, main channel, other channel, Patreon, and Cash App. All linked in the description below. So, with all that said, this is Leon Mookie, signing out. Later, guys. Hope you all take care.